lesson 6 of how to tie flies. Today, the fundamental we're going to focus on will be putting rubber legs onto a fly. We'll be doing this on the front end as antenna, both sides as legs, and also a tail as we tie a Pat's rubber legs, or a Girdle Bug as they're called. We're also going to go back over wrapping lead wire, which we did previously. We're using today a size 8 3X nymph hook or streamer hook, and that's a barbless hook we have. I'm going to use 0.25 lead wire. This and when you talk about hooks, when I say 3X, that generally refers to the length of the shaft. So the shaft's going to be 3 times longer than a traditional hook. Lead wire goes in gauges. This is 0.25 that I have here. The larger the number, the thicker the gauge, and the more weight you're going to be adding to that. So you could do 0.30 or even 0.35 on a fly like this. And we're going to be using medium round rubber legs as well. So the body for this fly is going to be a chenille. This is a medium chenille. And that's basically this is a variegated variety, which means it's got multiple colors involved that overlap one to the next. You can use solids as well. I like a medium for this fly. They do make small chenilles that are popular for your San Juan worms. We use that when we tied a San Juan worm the first episode. So we'll get started here and go to the vise. Okay, let's get started with our Pat's rubber leg. We're going to take our 3X size 8 nymph hook and we are going to wrap it with lead wire. So this is 0.25 lead wire. I'm going to start with this tag on the far side of the hook, other side, and I'm going to wrap towards me and around the hook shank with touching turns. That broke on me, so I need to start over. There we go. And we're going to wrap with consecutive touching, turning wraps all the way up to about 1/8 of an inch behind the hook eye. Put my thumbnail up against that, twist it to break it off. And then I'm going to wrap this little tag left back here around as well. So we've got our weight on the fly there. Now that may roll on you. So a couple things that I'm going to do. First of all, I'm going to pull that wire backwards and get just a dab of Zap-A-Gap or a super glue. I'm going to roll that on there and then reposition that again where I want that lead to be. That's going to help secure that and make it less likely to roll. The other thing I'm going to do is when I start my thread, which I'll start right behind the eye, and wrap backwards to the point where it's had several wraps over top before I trim off the tag. I'm going to hold that lead with my left hand just to secure it and begin wrapping the thread over top of it. Now as I wrap that backwards towards the bend of the hook, I'm going to wrap all the way down to the hook shank. Make several wraps at the back of that and then come back forward. And what we're doing is I want to come forward all the way to the front above that lead before making another run backwards. Again, all the way to the hook shank and back up. That's securing that in really well so that we don't have the twisting and turning potential of that fly. Next, we're going to take our rubber leg. On this fly, I'm going to use a grizzly barred rubber leg. You can just use your regular medium rubber legs. This has got a little extra coolness to it. So I've got my rubber leg and I need 4 pieces of this. So I'm simply going to cut it into what I eyeball as equal sizes, which is going to be probably in that 2-inch category. And once I've got those 4 pieces, I'm going to tie in starting with my antenna, okay? And so I'm going to measure how long I want that antenna to be, and that's going to be about where I want that. And I'm going to pinch that down on top and bring my thread over. That will naturally bring it to the side of the hook if I start on top. And I'm going to wrap towards the eye. So I started a little bit behind the eye so that I'd have room to wrap up towards the eye. So I've got one side on. I've wrapped it and secured it very well. I'm going to take this other and come up and begin wrapping with my left hand over top, trying to keep this antenna on the side of the hook, and I'll wrap that up to the hook eye and then back again to secure it. Now you notice one's going to be significantly longer than the other. So I'll pinch them together and then cut off the excess of the longer antenna at the proper spot. We'll wrap our thread all the way back to the bend of the hook, right before the bend, and we're going to take another piece of round rubber leg. Again, we're going to pinch that on top of the hook because it's going to roll around. So I'll measure, transfer to my left hand, pinch, and come over top with consecutive wraps to make sure we secure that well. And then once we've got that secured, we're going to bring it over top and wrap on top of the other leg, making sure we secure it. Like the antenna, I've got one that's longer than the other. So I simply want to get these two, and I can just grab them with one hand and bring them straight up if I need to, and trim them so that they have equal length to them. Now, because I like a little bit more bulk to the body of this fly, I'm going to come back up closer to the top where the lead wrap is to tie in my chenille. This is a variegated chenille. I'm going to tie this tip in by pinching that material on top. Again, I want to leave a good bit behind the eye of the hook and not crowd that. So I'm tying it in about where the lead is. Lay it on top, pulling straight back and wrapping my thread over top to the back. Now I'm going to advance my thread back up to about the halfway point of this fly and begin wrapping this chenille. So we'll come over top, and I want to wrap this really tight right next to each other up to my thread, and then I'm going to come over with my left hand and bring that thread over top a couple of times because this is where we're going to tie our legs in. Lay that back, and I'm going to grab one set or one piece of round rubber leg, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and pull it around my thread. And then I'm going to grab the two tips of that, bring it over top, and tie it in. So I've wrapped that rubber leg around the thread so that I can carry it to the other side and tie it in at the midway point. I'm going to do that again on this side, only this time when I come around and I like to try and even up those tips. I'm going to keep this set of legs pulled towards me and come over top that way with the thread so that I've secured it in on my side. Okay? We want to pull the front set of legs back and advance our thread up to behind the eye. At this point, we're going to begin wrapping our chenille again. And we're going to wrap it in front of the back leg, in front of the other back leg, and then we're going to pull one front leg back, the other front leg back, and wrap. And then wrap again and come up and over top to capture that chenille. I like to do it 2 or 3 times, and then in front of that chenille before we trim it off. Now that we've trimmed the chenille off, all we're left with, and I'll make several wraps up here just making sure I've got it good, is our finish knot. In this case, I'm just going to do a quick half hitch. Making sure I get over top of that eye. And I'll do 3 of those. You can also do a whip finish. Sometimes a half hitch is a little bit easier because of the legs. And there you have it. Our Pat's rubber legs. It's a great fly, great stonefly imitation. You can also tie that with a bead if you wish. But that's the fundamental of putting our legs on. I hope you tune in to lesson 7. Lesson 7, we're going to begin to tie dry flies. We're going to put together a stimulator. So we'll be wrapping some hackle and we'll be working with deer hair on that as well. Thanks so much. Please visit my website for these materials and more, bigtflyfishing.com.